حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له وما يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Verily, all the praise and all of the magnification and certainly all of the dedication should be for Allah and Allah alone. And I publicly, I inwardly, and I outwardly detest and declare that there is none that deserves to be worshipped except for Allah Jalla fi Ula, and that Abu Qasim, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, was the last of messengers sent to guide mankind from the darkness into the light. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, coming from Toronto to come down and visit our brothers in Niagara Falls. It has been some time since we've come here to Niagara Falls and visited the Muslims here. And we're very happy today to visit you today. And the message that we have today, brothers, it is extremely important in light of what's going on in the world. Lessons are blessings. Lessons are blessings. And if we don't take the time to learn the lesson, in school, you take the lesson and then you learn the test. But in life, you take the test and then you learn the lesson. So when we look at the situation, my dear brothers and my dear sisters in Islam, we want to talk about the issue of friends, frenemies, and enemies. Enemies, frenemies, and friends. Enemies, friends, and enemies, ya ikhwan. We need to identify who is our friend and who is not our friend. There is something in the old days they called, in the days of those who watch Western movies, which I grew up as a non-Muslim when I embraced Islam 27 years ago, there was a famous movie called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. These are realities that we need to look at. The wolf, the fox, and the skunk. When we understand these things, ya ikhwan, it's extremely important because there are some qawaid that the ulama al-rabbaniyun, they used to say, and one of them that I learned from one of my teachers years ago, at-tariq qabla rafiq. At-tariq qabla rafiq. That the path is more important than your friends. Staying on the path is more important than your friends. Sometimes your friends will try to take you off the path. That's why we have to understand at-tariq qabla rafiq. Moving on, my dear brothers, when we look at the word as-saddiq, al-rafiq, Al-Khalil, Sahib, Zamili, Waliyun, and Habibi. These are the names that we call our friends. But there are some that we should be calling Adu and Qasim, our enemies. My brothers, we are talking about friends, frenemies, and enemies. Enemies, frenemies, and friends. We have to be understanding because lessons are blessings, my brothers. Looking at the situation, there's a famous general by the name of Sun Tzu. Some people say that it was Michael Corleone in The Godfather. Some say, no, that's not the case. It was Machiavelli who said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. We have to understand this, my dear brothers, because in the business sense, the intelligent Qais Fatran, the one who's intelligent, he not only studies his business buddies, but he also studies his competitors. If you're a smart businessman, you see the people that you work with, you study them. How they dress, how they talk, how they walk, how they get along, how they do business. A person who's smart, they watch other businessmen. But you should also watch your competitors. Because, ya ikhwan, we are living in a time right now that the Muslims need to understand these hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went on to say, لا تصاحب إلى مؤمنا. لا تصاحب إلى مؤمنا. Do not accompany anybody except a firm believer. There is some benefit in understanding this, my brothers. You would be an ignorant fool if you hang around fools. The Prophet ﷺ said in one narration, he said, Al-mar'u. And in another narration, he said, Al-rajulu ala dini ala khalilihi, فَيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مِنْ يُخَالِقُ كَمَا قَالَ صلى الله عليه وسلم. That a man or a person or a woman is on the religion of their friend, so look and see who you take as your friends. It is of the utmost importance, my dear brothers and sisters. We are talking about, our topic today is frenemies, enemies, and friends. Enemies, friends, and frenemies. I want my brothers and sisters here to understand that why this is important. When we look at the situation, brothers, a person called me up about 3 years ago, a brother. Said, Akhi, I need a favor. I really need this favor. I need you to help me out. I said, what do you need, brother? I'm here for you. He said, brother, I need a phone number of Sheikh so-and-so and brother so-and-so. Can you give me 2 phone numbers? So he needs something from me. No problem. He's my brother. I give him those phone numbers. I give him those connections so he can start to do business and he can profit from those connections that I have. That's no problem. We're brothers. We should support each other. But the very next day, another one of our friends invited me to a barbecue. It happened to be this brother's family barbecue. So I was good when he called me up and he said, brother, can you help me up? Can you hook me up? Can you give me the connections? But the next day when I arrived at the barbecue, he was shocked to see me. And then he said, brother, come to the barbecue, come to the barbecue. No, your cousin, he already invited me. Even though I just talked to the brother the day before. So I was only his friend when he needed something from me. So we look at the situation, my dear brothers. It is very important that when we see ya ikhwan, the Prophet ﷺ, he left us gems of wisdom. Salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. He said in another narration, Al-urwahu junud mujannada, فَمَا تَعَرَّفَ مِنْهَا اِتَّلَفَ وَمَا تَنَكَّرَ مِنْهَا اخْتَلَفَ. Or كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, we want to say that the souls are like constricted or harmonized souls. Those who recognize, they will get along. And those whom you don't recognize, they won't get along. I have met people in my life. I meet them and instantaneously we're clicking like this. I've met people, I bump into them, and for some reason they don't like me and I never even hardly talk to them past 1 minute. This is why the Prophet wanted to say that the souls, they are like conscripted soldiers or harmonized souls. Those who recognize, because before we were here, ya ikhwan, we were in another place. And those who got along, they got along. We're talking about, ya ikhwan, at-tariq qabla rafiq. At-tariq qabla rafiq. The path, the sirat al-mustaqim. It is more important than the friends that you keep. Now maybe you have some friends that eat certain food that you like to eat. Maybe you have some friends that have some occupations that you're similar with. You both have BAs. You both have master's degrees. You both have PhDs, permanent head damage. It's possible. But when we look at the situation, brothers, we have to weigh who are we keeping as our friend. Long before these people, they said, be careful who you take as your friends. We find that the Prophet ﷺ left us with the gem of wisdom. And as I put on my spectacles to see this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ went on to say, and this hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet went on to say, أحبب حبيبك حون ما عسى أن يكون بغيضك يوم ما وأبغض بغيضك حون ما عسى أن يكون حبيبك يوم ما. The Prophet ﷺ, he left us with gems, brothers. He said, love the one whom you love to a certain degree, moderately. One day, he may become someone that you have to have a hatred for. And then the Prophet ﷺ went on to say, and hate the one whom you have hatred to a certain degree, moderately. Perhaps maybe one day, you have to learn how to love him. Moderation, my brothers. I have been stung very severely by people who I thought were my friends. And the Prophet said, لا يضرب مؤمن جحر واحد مرتين. The believer does not get stung from the same hole twice. So we look at the situation, my dear brothers. A Muslim who is aqilan, intelligent. A Muslim is one who is justly balanced in his loving and his hating. He is just both when he's giving and when he is taking. And he's moderate in both. بين التفريط والإفراط. He doesn't go too far to the right. He doesn't go too far to the left. He's balanced. This is how we have to be. So he is not one he goes beyond the limits. And Allah Ta'ala went on to say, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونُ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. Thus we have made you a justly balanced nation, that you bear witness over mankind, and the Messenger he's going to bear witness over us. So everything we do, brothers, is supposed to be in moderation to the best of our ability. Sometimes we're naqis. We're deficient in how we deal with matters, but we have to realize that time is very precious. And who you spend your time with, it is a great thamin. It is a great expenditure. It is a great thing that you have. Your thamin, ya ikhwan, is very expensive. I do not have time to hang around with people that are not either going to help pull me up in my businesses, or they're going to pull me up in my ability to make my family stronger, or they're going to help me get to the Jannah. This is the point, my dear brothers. Our friends, can they help us get to the Jannah? At-tariq qabla rafiq. At-tariq qabla rafiq. The path before your friends. أقول كل هذا أستغفر الله إليكم وسلام المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا نهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. Truly all praise is due to Allah who guided us to this Islam. Truly if Allah didn't guide us to this Islam, we would not be from amongst those that were guided. I embraced Islam 27 years ago. All of my family, they're non-Muslims except for my children, which 2 of them are here today. My father died just last month. And in this time of stress, and this time of bereavement, and this time of concern, my heart was at great pains. Many people reached out to me. Some I expected, some I never expected. And then some I'm still waiting for them to reach out to me. This was the time when I seen who is who in front of me. Who said the condolences? Who gave me the salam? Who said, brother, do you need any support? Do you need some help? We're here to help you. It's very important, brothers, that we realize this, because Allah Ta'ala, He went on to say, قال الله تعالى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الآخلاء يومئذ بعضهم لبعض عدو إلى المتقين. Allah Ta'ala went on to say, close friends on that day will be enemies to each other except for the muttaqeen. Brothers, this verse within itself, just the tafsir alone, reading that, shows you that you may have a friend right now, come Yawm al-Qiyamah, he's going to be your enemy. She's going to be your enemy. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Zukhraf, chapter 43, verse 67, close friends that day will be enemies to each other, except for the muttaqeen. We are talking about, brothers, frenemies, enemies, and friends. With friends, And as they say, a very famous statement, with friends like that, you don't need enemies. With friends like that, you don't need enemies. And a real friend, as I was looking up online, is actually a person who comes and they confront you face to face. And it might be a position, ya ikhwan, that it might get heated because maybe there's some money involved. So you want the person to come and confront you face to face, not to come and stab you in your back. This is what manhood used to be in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The issue of ar-rujula wal-maru'a. Manhood and masculinity, which we don't see too much these days amongst the Muslims. Strong manhood with good manners, good values, great masculinity. And as I was doing some research, I came across, and I'm pretty sure everybody here in this masjid knows who this lady is. She's probably one of the richest ladies in the world. Her name is Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah Winfrey, she had an ibra, or she had a hikmah for us. And as the Prophet said, a hikmah dolatul muslimin. That wisdom is the last property of the Muslims, so we take it from wherever we can get it. Oprah Winfrey, she went on to say, everyone wants to ride with you in the limo, but what you want is that they take the bus with you when the limo breaks down. So when the limousine breaks down, then we're going to see who's really your friends. And I've seen it, brothers, and I have a story to tell you that a good friend of mine about 14, 15 years ago, he had a white Mercedes-Benz. And he got in a car accident because he just started to learn how to drive. He wasn't that great of a driver. Then he got his car fixed and his car sat in the parking lot for 6 months. He decided that he still wants to use this white Mercedes-Benz and he wanted to go back and forth to work a couple times because the work that he had is a really good paid job working for the government in terms of laying out of the city. So he said to me, brother, if I put your name on the insurance, can you take me to work at least every Friday? Can you drop me off and pick me? Other than that, the car is for you. I was able to drive that car for 10 months. The amount of people all of a sudden, they noticed me, they wanted to talk to me. It got to the point that in the city of Toronto, and I'm only using these examples as a lesson for us to learn. You'll be able to see who people really are. There was a particular prestigious imam in the city of Toronto. Barely ever noticed me ever in his life, barely returned my salam, barely had any concern for me as a new Muslim, whether I'm learning, my iman is getting better, how my family is doing, how's my transition. Never asked me any of these questions. But as soon as he seen me roll up in that white Mercedes-Benz, brothers, and I came up to the masjid and I parked far away, as anybody who has a nice car would do. All of a sudden, I see the imam, this particular brother, walking all the way across the parking lot. Assalamu alaikum, brother. MashaAllah. Where did you get this car from? How much does it cost? How much mileage is on this car? So when we look at it, brothers, we need people what they call ride or die. Either they're with us or they're not with us. When my dad died, like I said, I was able to see who's who, what's what. Brothers are sending me gifts from all over, giving me condolences, calling me. People call me from Australia. People call me from the States. People call me from England. People call me from Saudi Arabia. They text me. They email me. These are the people that we want, that are there for us when we've fallen at our bottom and they pick us up. So my dear brothers, you can learn a lot from people who dislike you. You can learn a lot. They say that the detractors that you have, if you listen to them, they see your flaws better than you see. So you should listen to your detractors, the people that don't like you. Give a little bit of your ear to them, because maybe they'll tell you, hey, you know what? Your thobe is not white enough. You need to make it more whiter. Maybe your glasses aren't nice enough. You need to get a better pair of glasses. You should listen to them. But at the same time, don't let them harm you. Also, ya ikhwan, number 2, they have different perspective in interests. These people that have a different perspective and a different interest than you. Number 3, your enemy has invested in studying you very closely. That's something maybe that we don't do. So a true friend, my brothers, they're going to be there for us at all times. So we look at the situation. Some friends, they use us. Some friends, they abuse us. Some can fool us. But the lesson right here we want to take, brothers, is, but never let them rule us. Be careful of the friends that you take, my dear brothers. We are talking about friends, frenemies, and enemies. And it came to a point, ya ikhwan, some years ago, where as a single father who embraced Islam, I had the responsibility of bringing up 3 children all by myself as a single father. Now, you can imagine how hard that would be for a single mother. But for a single father, it's extremely difficult. Because automatically people, they start asking so much questions. Well, my ex-wife, she got sick. And the marriage didn't last long. And I had to take over responsibility. The amount of people that lied on me. People that didn't know me? Nope. People that knew me. People that understood who I was. People who knew the responsibility. Now, many men, they've run away from a situation like that. But we need men that step up and step beyond what other people think of us. We shouldn't worry about what the people are thinking about us. We should worry about what Allah Azza wa Jal, what He thinks about us. Because come Yawm al-Qiyamah, my brothers, it's going to be me all by myself, standing there. It's going to be you all by yourself, standing there. It's going to be you, brother, all by yourself, standing there. It's going to be you, brother, all by yourself, standing there, and no one can help you. But you're going to be asked about the transactions that you dealt with the people in your life. So my dear brothers in Islam, coming from the city of Toronto, there's lots of shooting and lots of violence and lots of killing. Not amongst the non-Muslims, more so amongst the Muslims. And I work with those Muslim kids. I was the imam in the Don jail from 1994 to 2001, working with the Muslim kids. It has grown exponentially. And we're finding, my dear brothers, that it's reached the level that a cousin will be in another gang to a rival gang, and that these cousins have shot and killed each other or wounded their cousin for some money. This is the situation in the city of Toronto. We're working with those kids. We're trying very desperately to reach those kids. And for many of the brothers, they may not understand that the Prophet ﷺ went on to say, خِيَارَكُمْ جَاهَلِيَّةً خِيَارَكُمْ إِسْلَامٍ إِذَا فَقِهُ. The best of you in the days of ignorance will become the best of you, inshallah, if Allah gives you understanding. We understand the streets very well, brothers. We graduated from the streets. We have a PhD from the streets, brothers. Now we're trying to learn Islam after 27 years. It's time for us to be better leaders for our women and for our children, but first and foremost for our community. Many of the Muslims I've witnessed over the years, my dear brothers, they've spent their time worrying about what everybody else is doing. If you want to make change in the community, ya akhi, if you want to make change in the community, ya ukhti, then it has to start with who? Are you waiting for the imam to make the change? Or the leadership? Or are you going to be the first one to the masjid to shovel or to clean up or to put water, which is one of the highest levels, is that you help your brother out when he doesn't know? A simple thing that I learned from one of my sheikhs: come to the masjid, you use the washroom, you use the water, brothers, put some water in there so when your brother comes, al-adha, al-raf al-adha, you make it easy for your brother to use the facilities. And we don't cause harm for the people. And I tell you, brothers, I learned another lesson last weekend, as lessons are blessings. One of the masjids invited one of the mayors to this particular masjid. This masjid I frequent all the time. And every single time that I go to this masjid, there's a shoe problem on the ground at this particular masjid. Not here, I'm talking about in the city of Toronto. And I have a friend who happens to be visually impaired. So when he comes to the masjid, literally, I'm going like this, kicking the shoes out the way so my brother doesn't trip because he can't see. Every day, the imam tries to talk to the people, the administration has tried, but it got to the point now that nobody even cares anymore. But guess what? When the mayor came, let me ask you a question, brothers. When the mayor came, do you think the shoes were still there, or somehow the Muslims decided to get everything organized? Of course they got everything organized. My question is we fear the law, which is good, but when are we going to start to fear Allah? When are we going to start to fear Allah, ya ikhwan? It's okay to fear the law, no problem. We don't want to do any crimes. We're good Muslims, we're good citizens. But why is it when the mayor has to come to the masjid and not our brother who can't see, or one of our sick sisters, or one of our sick brothers that can't walk, we can't clean up after ourselves? And I'm asking you, brothers, when you come, or when people invite you over to their house, or when you invite people over to your house, do you take some time to clean up your house? Of course you do, my brothers. So the call today, brothers, is this. Ramadan is coming very soon. Every year, I've been saying for years, brother so-and-so, he didn't make it to Ramadan. Sister so-and-so, she didn't make it to Ramadan. 10 days before, 20 days before, 3 days before, 1 month before. We're hoping, brothers, we're hopeful that we're going to make it to this month of Ramadan and to be able to make some ibadat to Allah Ta'ala. But if we're waiting for them to start to clean up our hearts and our minds and our souls, then we're waiting too long. We want to have a husnul khatima, a good ending, brothers. Let's not wait for next week, next month, next year. Let's start today, my dear brothers. We have an opportunity that's right here in front of us right now to become better Muslims. I myself look in the mirror every day and I ask myself, where am I compared to the Prophet ﷺ and his companions? What have I done for Islam and the Muslims? How am I going to be effective? Some of us, brothers, they sit in the back and we watch the game. Some of us are actually training to get in the game. Some of us sit on the bench waiting to get in the game. Some of us are spectators. Some of us are fans. Some of us, they don't even care about the game. Brothers, it doesn't matter if you're 2 years old or 80 years old, you have a chance still to do some amal salihat. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. These are basic things that if we put them together, belief and good action. Belief and good action, brothers, I do believe we'll be successful. هذا ما عندي وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. My dear brothers, we're from the city of Toronto. We work with kids that are doing all kinds of horrible things. I'll be outside. Anybody that wants to help our project, we're the only people that are doing this project in the city of Toronto. All the other brothers, they've retired or they passed away. And all I can say, brothers, is that our youth are going astray. And the only one that's going to be accountable to us is the parents and the community. May Allah make us better. Akim as-salat wa yarhamakullah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.